Hello guys, today we're going to go through designing AI systems that deliver real ROI. And in the previous video, we went through an MIT study or report that explained how 95% of businesses got no ROI while only 5% got ROI. And this was over 300 companies. I might be wrong here, but I think it was 300 companies that they had interviewed and went through like their whole process and what they did, etc. And the question today is, how do you actually design a system that delivers ROI? And I created this mind map and we'll go right through it. Anyways, let's head into the video. Introduction. AI does not, and I will of course, during the video, I'll pause and go through some examples, like some practical examples. AI does not fail because models are weak. AI fails because organizations implement it as a tool instead of a system. Real ROI appears when AI is embedded in real workflows, designed to learn over time, owned operationally, aligned with human behavior. And these are like these are the core and primary, like the core contents of it. Anyways, let's continue. Part 1, strategic and theoretical foundations. How to think about AI, because we need a totally different mindset, like a totally different frame of seeing, of how to see this, basically, because I mentioned in previous videos how AI is a tool, but when it comes to business, you cannot implement it as a tool. AI is a tool when you use it personally. For example, you're just going to type in a prompt. You're going to use it for a one-time thing. But when you're implementing an automation or AI into a business, you need something that is integrated into the system, into the infrastructure, so that it's not just like a feature. And that is the problem that these low ROI companies did. Anyways, we will go through all those steps here that I wrote down. Most organizations treat AI like a feature they add. High ROI organizations treat AI like infrastructure. Infrastructure is always present, improves over time, supports many use cases, becomes invisible when it works. If AI feels optional or external, ROI collapses. And what I mean by saying it becomes invisible is that it's so well integrated into the system that you barely notice it. For example, they mentioned in the MIT study how the AIs that were implemented like in the back end, you barely noticed them, but they did what they're supposed to do. Their functionality was great and everything like that. While the companies with low ROI had these flashy, like they had the flashy gadgets, they had the looks, the outside was looking good, basically, the dashboard, etc. But it wasn't as convenient. It didn't have any good functionality, and that's the thing. The most boring parts, or the backlog parts, those are the most important parts. Those are the ones that actually work and have functionality and will work and actually help a business. Anyways, let's continue, because we will go through even deeper more in depth into that. Anyways, number 2, start with the workflow, not the model. AI should never be designed in isolation. It must be designed around how work already happens. Key insight. AI should replace steps, not add steps. If AI requires a separate dashboard, a new login, a new habit, adoption drops immediately because the convenience drops. It's not as convenient. It becomes an inconvenience. The more convenient it is, the better it is. The more useful it will be, and the more people, that also employees, will want to use it because it's incorporated into the system. It's a part of the system. It's not outside. It's not an external part of the system that just adds. And like I mentioned there, instead of replacing and being a part of it, it will instead be something that adds steps, more steps. That just makes it totally more inconvenient. Anyways, number 3, I mean, AI value comes from compounding, not one-off wins. Low ROI AI saves time once, produces static outputs, requires constant reprompting, just like a tool, just like when you use ChatGPT, etc. You use it as a tool. Once you're done, once you have received your answer, your prompt or whatever, you put it down. High ROI AI learns from corrections, improves outputs over time, reduces effort continuously. This requires intentional system design because there's a feedback loop. There's somebody who has ownership. There's somebody who can make the corrections. And like, for example, I can give you an example here. Like, let's say there's a sales team and somebody sends an email and the AI creates a draft. Before sending out the draft to the client, it sends it over to the sales team that goes through the content, maybe corrects, maybe adds something based on the question from the person, the mail, and then they improve it and give it to the AI, and it will, from there, it will learn from the corrections and improve. That will improve the outputs over time, and it's a compounding effect because it takes time. The more data, the more quality data, the better the output will be. But we will go through that a little bit later about the data. Anyways, number 4, feedback is the real intelligence. That's true because a real intelligence system has a feedback loop. Models are not intelligent by default. They become useful only when feedback exists. A real AI system must answer, how can a human correct the output? Where is that correction stored? How does the next output change? Without feedback loops, automation only scales errors. Think about it. Like, let's say, okay, if a customer or client sends in a mail and the AI just takes it upon itself to just like create these drafts and send them out without no feedback loop, nothing, it will not get better over time. It will just make errors, and these errors will scale. Eventually, there will be like a very quiet destruction, and that will lead to like catastrophic results. But basically, if you have noticed that in the system or something like that, you should immediately eject, like remove the AI, remove the automation, because there's a much bigger issue there, and that's the implementations problem there. It's a problem from the bottom, not from the top, from the bottom up. Anyways, number 5, ownership beats committees. AI projects die when responsibility is shared. High ROI systems have one owner, clear mandate, operational responsibility. If something breaks and no one knows who fixes it, ROI is already gone. And exactly like they mentioned in the MIT study, they talked about how these 5% who had a good ROI, they had an external team that they hired. They had external teams that they hired that took care of the automation, the AI, and that was basically their responsibility. So everybody knew who was responsible for the automation's functioning, for the feedback loop, to make sure that everything is correct and set up correct. While the companies who had a low ROI, they did this internally. And like and you can read even in the study, most of the projects there, the pilots, etc., none of them got launched, because who wants to take responsibility for a failed project, for something that is not implemented correctly? Because that person will get a lot of blame. They will get in the company, they'll get a bad reputation and stuff like that. Nobody wants to take ownership over that because they know that's a disaster. That's not something that that's not something that somebody wants to take responsibility for. So while in the external, the high ROI systems, when they hired an external team, they knew exactly what needed to be done. They had the education, the training, they knew what needed to be done to implement it correctly, and they knew how to teach also, like the rest of the teams, like the rest of the employees, and show them what is what and this and that. Anyways, let's continue to part 2. How to identify high ROI automation candidates. We start with the tasks that are repetitive, boring, time-consuming, rule-based, error-prone. Avoid creative or strategic tasks early. Those come later. Basically, you start from the bottom up. The repetitive and boring tasks, those are the tasks that actually are the most worthwhile to automate. And I mentioned this earlier, but like the AI, the agent itself, that's just the cherry on the topping. Sometimes you don't even need an agent for these tasks. For example, if there's a company with employees that in the morning, they will have to like sort through the CRM, the Google Sheets, a lot of copy pasting, and that, let's say that takes, for example, like several hours in the morning. Those hours could be spent And of course, errors occur there because hey, maybe they're tired. It's in the morning, or maybe it's late, and they forget to copy paste something, or something comes in, whatever. But those things, those hours that are spent there could be used to, like, those employees could do something much more worthwhile that will actually increase the ROI of the company and the income, the revenue of the company, basically, instead of like these repetitive and time like boring tasks, time consuming. Also, that will actually, like, for example, that will raise the morale also in a certain way of the employees, because who the hell wants to sit all day in the mornings and just copy paste, do much boring stuff, instead when they can do things that are actually beneficial for them, gaining more experience that would in a way also indirectly help the company, besides like saving money and time. That is like the biggest part and the best part about automations. But anyways, you start basically from the bottom up, not from the top down. And these low ROI, those with the low ROI, they started from the top down. They wanted the cool agent that can do this and that, and stuff like that. But like that's not a good foundation. That's not how you were supposed to implement automations. But anyways, let's continue. 7, think in workflows, not tools. AI automation is built from components. Triggers, what starts the process. Action, what AI does. Conditions, decision logic. Integration, where data flows. This makes systems predictable and scalable. It triggers, for example, a mail comes in. If it's an e-commerce company, the trigger is that an email comes in. The action is that the AI, for example, drafts a response, and the conditions are if it should draft what type of response. The conditions, like, for example, if an order is delayed by 2 days, the condition is bam, okay, it is delayed, so it will then create another draft to tell this customer, hey, your order is late, blah blah, etc. Yeah, an integration, it could be integrated into the CRM, to the logistics system, yeah, email system. Anyways, data readiness, this is very important because many companies, of course, have data, but data readiness is non-negotiable. AI performance is capped by data quality. The required is clean data, centralized access, clear ownership, legal rights to use it. Bad data guarantees bad AI. There's so many companies that have like fractured data, corrupt data. All of it is like, it's not clean data, and then they think that the fault is the model's fault. No, that like AI is capped by that, basically. Like, no data foundations mean like no ROI, basically, because you have corrupt data. So how is the AI supposed to go through that data when the quality is bad? And let's say, for example, I'm thinking, let's say like I'm going to bring up an example. Let's say in a finance or insurance company, the AI will rely then on historical transactional data. So if the data is fragmented, or like it's inconsistent, it has inconsistencies, the predictions will fail. How can it make good predictions if the data is fragmented, if it's inconsistent? It doesn't make sense. Then some companies, like, they can blame the model, but when the fault is actually their data. And no model can fix that. That's impossible. That's like, it doesn't work that way, basically. Anyways, let's continue. Pilot for learning, not for demos. Pilots should exist to validate workflow fit, expose edge cases, build feedback loops. If a pilot only proves that AI can work, it proves nothing. Exactly like we mentioned earlier, the e-commerce, if it just sends out mails, but it has no feedback loop, it's not a process that should be implemented, basically. That's why we have pilots. Pilots are for trying them out before. It's to learn, like, hey, does this work? Is this a correct feedback loop? Yeah. Anyways, number 10, integrate AI where work already lives. High adoption AI lives inside CRM systems, emails, documents, ticketing tools. Low adoption AI lives beside them. Convenience always wins. Like mentioned earlier, you want to have it integrated into the infrastructure, not outside the infrastructure. 11. This one was one of the most important parts, because in the MIT study, this is exactly what they said was the biggest issue and why the external teams did so well, why the companies with high ROI that had hired external teams and the ones who had low ROI, who did all of the AI projects internally, did not have good ROI. It's because of the training. That's what they mentioned in the MIT study, at least. And I certainly agree there. Prepare humans, not just systems. AI integration is a behavior change problem. Organizations must handle training, communication, trust, role clarity. Without buy-in, even good systems fail. Number 12, design for continuous improvement. AI systems are never finished. You don't want an AI system that is finished, because that means it will never compound, it will never learn or get better. High ROI organizations monitor outputs. This is a part of ownership also. That's somebody that monitors outputs, reviews performance, iterates workflows, and expands gradually and improves upon the workflow and the data, checks for data, statistics, everything. AI ROI compounds only if learning continues. The final synthesis of this is, the mental model is, AI ROI emerges when AI lives inside real workflows, feedback changes future behavior, ownership is explicit, systems adapt over time, and AI fails when it is bolted on, demo-driven, politically owned, behavior agnostic. Anyways, that's that. Thank you for watching the video. Like, subscribe for more of these videos. I appreciate it. Take care. Ciao.